Thomas Avery had lived alone on the edge of Maple Ridge for over 40 years. His house, once filled with the laughter of his family, had fallen silent. His wife Maria had passed away a decade ago, and his grown children had moved to the city, rarely returning. At 60, Thomas was so used to loneliness, he thought it was his destiny. His days followed a quiet, unchanging rhythm. Wake at dawn, brew coffee, tend his small garden, and then sit on his old wooden chair, watching the sunrise. He told himself he wasn't sad, that solitude was just a season, like the town's long winters. But deep down, an emptiness remained, a quiet longing for warmth, for another set of footsteps, for a sign that he still belonged to this life. He believed happiness had left him long ago and had no reason to expect its return. One autumn afternoon, while walking in the fields, Thomas spotted a small, whimpering figure near the woods. It was a dog, its light brown coat matted with dirt, a worn collar still around its neck. It looked at him with eyes that were both wary and hopeful, begging for help but fearing rejection. Thomas had never planned on getting another animal, but something in his heart softened at the sight of the trembling creature. "Come on," he said softly, "I won't hurt you." The dog hesitated, then slowly approached. When its head touched his hand, Thomas felt its fragile trust, and something long dormant inside him began to stir. He named him Buddy. Buddy quickly became Thomas's constant shadow. He'd lie at his feet during his morning paper, follow him around the garden, and curl up by the steps as he drank his afternoon tea. For the first time in years, Thomas found himself talking out loud to Buddy. He'd talk about the weather, the carrots in his garden, or the quiet ache he still felt for his late wife. And Buddy would just listen, with his round, knowing eyes, as if every word was the most important thing in the world. One early winter evening, Thomas went into the woods to chop firewood, with Buddy trotting behind. As darkness fell, a low growl echoed through the trees. Wolves, 3 of them, emerged from the shadows, their eyes glowing a cold blue. Thomas froze, his heart pounding. He knew he couldn't outrun them, but Buddy stepped forward, fur raised, and let out a fierce growl. "Buddy, no," Thomas whispered, his voice trembling. But Buddy didn't retreat. He barked, shattering the silence. One wolf lunged, and Buddy met it with a ferocious bite. In that split second of chaos, Thomas grabbed a thick branch and swung it wildly, driving the wolves back until they finally vanished into the night. Thomas fell to his knees. Buddy was slightly wounded, but wagged his tail, looking at him with pride. You saved my life, Buddy." Warm tears he hadn't shed in years, streamed down his face. From that night on, their bond was unbreakable. Thomas began to feel that life was no longer empty. He woke up earlier, tended his garden with more care, and even started baking pies to share with his neighbors. The townspeople noticed he smiled more, walked with a lighter step. Buddy was always there, a permanent part of his home. On cold nights, as Thomas sat by the fire, Buddy would rest a paw on his knee, as if to say, "I'm here." Thomas had never imagined a dog could feel like family, but Buddy did. Years passed. Both Thomas and Buddy grew old together. One spring morning, Thomas, now in his 70s, sat on his porch, stroking Buddy's head. "Thank you, Buddy," he smiled. "Without you, I don't know how I would have lived these years." That night, Thomas passed away peacefully in his sleep. Buddy stayed right by his side, refusing to move, until the neighbors found them. Just a few months later, Buddy passed away too, as if his purpose was complete now that his only friend was gone. In Maple Ridge, people still tell the story of Thomas and Buddy. It's a tender reminder that happiness can find us when we least expect it. That a life we think is closed can be opened again by a friend, whether human or a small, loyal dog. And that love, in its quietest form, has the power to heal the loneliest of hearts.